going on for the two people in here? I guess I'm starting this live right now. I just walked all across Andalusia, or I guess Sevilla, over 26 kilometers. I am exhausted. And the reasoning is to get my social security number. Went to the original office of the Social Security where the government's at. They gave me an address that was 2 kilometers that way, walk 2 kilometers that way. It's some guy's apartment. That guy answers the door in a robe and is like saying some Spanish stuff to me. I assumed it was down the direction he pointed, and then I found that place and my phone was dead. And apparently I need my phone to get my social security number. So we can go ahead and do that tomorrow. But let's actually dig into charts. What do you guys want to see? I assume XCN, right? Is that what everybody wants to see? Well, here's Aster. Somebody brought up Aster a little bit ago. Not a whole bunch of information other than we just got this 200 EMA starting to come in here. But the potential upside is within this area, so about 43%. And good morning from Michigan. I am in Sevilla. It is 2:30 here, and I have about 35 or 40 minutes to try and give you guys the info that you, I assume, are watching for. Probably not going to do a video today because at least 100 of you people watch the live feed, and the live feed is going to be going over the stuff I would be going over in the video. But as of right now, zooming into XCN, it's kind of doing exactly what we had expected. We got the black downward channel. It worked its way out of that channel. Pretty important. And the reason that channel is there in the first place is, let's say you're like, oh, well, the channel is being adjusted. But it's not the most accurate because the second touch point is right here around, January 29th, before Jerome Powell said good afternoon and then crashed the market downwards. So this is more or less the channel that we are working with. If you moved it up here, I guess it's somewhat accurate. So you could obviously be seeing the resistance pushing it down. But for me, I'm going to leave it from that last touch point, say that we are trying to build some support on top of that. Yes, this is live right now. Build support on top of that black downward trend line. And I'm just going live right now. It's not the wheel spin. A lot of people are going to be watching this after I publish it. But the wheel spin here is the game I constantly recommend where you can earn passive income, and the PayPal for those of you who are interested in donating and saving animals' lives. The chat like sticker donation, that I don't even receive that for like a month and a half. So I can't really put that into the PayPal. Oh, whoops, the PayPal is separate. There's the PayPal. And whenever you send to the PayPal, if we don't have enough money, right now we need at least $50 in donations to do the spin. I can either send it back to you guys or we can hold it until we accumulate another 50. It'd be a good idea to go ahead and put more money in XCN now. Should I wait for it to go lower? I am not a financial advisor. I can't give you financial advice. But if you hear in my videos, you'll start seeing my monotone voice get a little bit more excited when we start building a little support. So we are essentially building support. If we get rid of all this stuff, because it looks just convoluted, just basically looking at the chart, this is our lowest point. And when we bring back in everything, that's essentially testing off this red downward trend line, which in the bigger picture is the wedge. So we tested that as support, had that major bull run because we broke this black downward trend line, which was essentially resistance. Everybody saw that and it pumped 168. But ideally what you want to see is this is the low point, 0.004. The next low point where we started building a base, 0.00472. And then essentially this is a low. This could pull back, but as long as it is closing above this previous low at 0.004, it's gonna potentially be a little bit more bullish. And some of you may not see it, but this chart is beautiful. This is, it's very nicely structured. Granted, we've been bleeding out for the past however many months, year. Let's see, where is the paintbrush here? I think it's this one. Nope. Paintbrush. So when I start drawing this, it's going to put in all my BS, but big W starting to form. And W's are great because you're always looking for W's and M's, McDonald's and I don't know, Warner Bros. But the W's have a higher potential to start building upwards. Like for example, if we can zoom in here. This is why I use an iPad, because on this computer, it's kind of ridiculous to get where I want to go. Looking at this area, I'm going to draw a box, essentially this area. And within that area, when we draw a W, you can see, okay, we had our low back here in April 10th, major bullish movement, started the bottom trend line showing we had support underneath the 200 EMA. We came all the way back to the 200 EMA and more or less formed a W, and it pushed it up to the red trend line where we got our resistance. Major bearish movement back down to the centerfold being this black line right here, if you guys can see that. So just the W doesn't mean this is going to be a breakout pattern. It essentially means it's more bullish momentum. Yeah, you can see that here's the second part of the W. We had our base, started building higher lows. This is on top of that 200 EMA, which confirmed more support, had the movement upwards, but it had nothing to do with breaking out of the bigger pattern. So down here, we have more or less a big W forming. Last time we had that push. This would essentially be the first half of the W, forming the second half of the W, and getting rid of everything. Hopefully you guys can see that from your point of view. I can't tell you to buy more or sell more because that would be financial advice. But in my opinion, it's never a bad idea to stack more XCN, especially if you believe XCN is going to its previous all-time high being 18 cents, even 10 cents. Half of a penny to 10 cents, astronomical ROI and potential. And good morning, Daniel, as well from Texas. You guys can just write a bunch of stuff in the chat. I'll try and keep up with it, but I think it helps push the video. I don't know how most of this stuff works. I'm just doing this to try and give you guys information before I head back out. In the biggest picture, it's the wedge we've been dealing with for these past couple months. Essentially the red, all the other stuff in here is just piecing together the data. It's more or less irrelevant. It's kind of trying to get an idea of what potentially could happen. Nothing is for sure, but clearly we see that when we zoom in and look, everybody else is kind of seeing the same thing that I am placing in front of you. We had that push up, red trend line resistance, came back down, tried to get up to that red trend line again, maybe got the resistance again, and then started forming. Okay, we hit a bottom. There was this yellow line here from the previous support and resistance. That makes sense. Everybody else saw it, pushed up, still was continuing downward, got that support again, pushed up, and then got that resistance showing, okay, there's the channel, more than likely, came down, and essentially now we are in consolidation, which is the healthiest thing for XCN at the moment. You don't want to see any quick movements because you would more than likely get that rejection off that 200 EMA. But right now, what we are looking at is this area. This essentially is what we need to get out of in order to get above this black trend line. And then we are wedged pretty tight within, come on, Neil. Then we'd be wedged within this area because that 200 EMA is there. Granted, when you're looking back at January 6th, it went from way away from the 200 EMA to way above it and then back under it because it had that major push. If we get a major pump up, we'd more than likely get resistance and potentially start consolidating on top of that black line and still underneath that 200 EMA because everybody will want to sell within that area. Shits and giggles. Do you think it's possible? Even say, I think it's possible. I wouldn't be in XCN as heavily as I am if I didn't think 10 cents was a possibility. Am I going to hold to 10 cents? That would be the better question. That's the hardest part because we've been waiting 9 months, a year for this to break out of this wedge. And until that happens, you essentially we're watching day after day, waiting to see that movement happen. The Clarity Act is going to be major. It may be detrimental to XCN's staking percentage. Like right now, you can get 34% APY staking. It could be reduced heavily. I'm still not dipping my toes into it because I know I can scalp the amount of percentage I'd make staking in a one-day movement rather than staking it and waiting for that 32%. 32% APY divided by 12. You know, you can get 168% in XCN in a day. Or if it's staked, then you have to unstake it. I'm pretty sure it's instant unstaking with XCN. But just from my previous history, I'm not staking anything until we have our bull run. One sec, I'll check the chat here in a second. Definitely write stuff, so I'm not just talking to myself. I really wish I could hear you guys. I don't know if there's a way to make that possible. 10 cents. Oh, let's actually talk about the reasoning behind 10 cents. The validation, more than enough validation, is the 2,000% peak that we had to hit 5 cents. Doubling that is more than easy once we break out of the pattern. Mainly because we've seen that it can reach 5 cents, and that was from a fraction of a penny. Everybody started entering into XCN after it did its pump. That's when you should be selling, obviously, but people see those 2,000% gains and then they want to jump in, and that's like trying to catch a falling knife. If you miss the train from the entry right around here at 0.001 and you're trying to enter anywhere up here at 0.026 to scalp, a lot of people just end up holding in this area and then they have to deal with the pain afterwards instead of placing their trade like we are now at 0.005. Phenomenal entry point. It could go lower. It really depends on if they're going to manipulate Bitcoin one more time, which I wouldn't put it past them. There was a photo I took in my iPad that showed the way the Bitcoin market was supposed to go as opposed to how it is going right now. And it's exactly what I had pasted. Everybody was watching. It's like, okay, October 10th, bull run. That's what we've been waiting these past 4 years for. The bull run got manipulated heavily with the government shutdown, then Jerome Powell on January 29th. Do I think we're going to have a bull run this year? If so, you had to guess which month. My original guess for the bull run was quarter 1, quarter 2. Now it's not quarter 1, specifically due to Jerome Powell on January 29th pushing it back. But crypto, if it's your first time in crypto, it is unforgiving, really. You can have these major pullbacks, waiting it out, bleeding out for months. People are like, oh, it's not going to go anywhere. I'm out. And then it pumps like 200%. They enter, it drops 50% of that. They exit because they realize they thought they were right the first time. Then it pumps again. The volatility in crypto is ridiculous. It could be one day to the next, like you just saw earlier the previous month, that 168% move. Oh, what's going on, man? What part of Spain? I just walked around Sevilla and I am exhausted from. I walked over half a marathon trying to get my social security number. Nice. No car in Madrid, I bet. No. All motorized scooters. I don't know how you could park there. Is it translating in Spanish? I don't know if my words are being translated in the bottom in Spanish or if you just know English. Because I cannot get down tener or hacer for the life of me. Motorbike, yeah. I want a motorcycleta myself. MV Agusta Brutal 800. It's like a $25,000 motorcycle, but man, that thing is beautiful. All right, what do you guys want to see? I got maybe 30, 35 more minutes. That's a lot of power. I learned how to drive a motorcycle or got my license in America on a 1600, but just trying to turn that thing, it's ridiculous. But that is more than enough power to get through the streets, no doubt. Fundamentals. What kind of fundamentals do you want to see? I go off my strategy. There's a lot of stuff out there, like, bat patterns and bat wings. But the strategy I use is looking for the bigger picture. When in doubt, zoom out, obviously. Trend lines are one of my biggest strategy. Volume pickups, RSI, kind of piecing them all together. And I take everything, I always say, with a bucket of salt, because don't just say, Neil said so, I'm going to buy, or Neil said this was going to happen. I'm not a financial advisor. I can give you my best opinion and try and make you the most money possible and try and tell you the best entries. The lowest point we had recently was here around 0.00414. We are currently a little bit above that, and we are expecting that more or less to be our base. So if we push down, that's 25% decrease in price, but the potential increase before resistance is that black trend line, which is the same. So that's your 1-to-1. I personally don't like to trade 1-to-1s. If you're trying to like scalp that area, I like to give myself a 2-to-1 or more, but the potential real upside is more or less a 2-to-1, right? It's 60% increase before the major resistance, 25% decrease before the major support. If you're entering now, I mean, are you really going to sell at a 25% decrease? Are you going to wait for it to pull back up to get to the red trend line? I can't give you the best suggestions for. I can't. It's not legal. It's not legal for me to say to buy. But in my videos, since they aren't live, you can more than likely hear the annotation in my voice. When is a better bet to buy? If you haven't entered XCN, you guys have been given a great opportunity anywhere in this area. Man, this is dirty. The chart is disgusting. Anywhere in this area, this is a good buy zone, in my opinion. Whether it goes up or down, this is a good buy zone. It's pretty much based out. Granted, if Bitcoin does its randomosity pullback, the absolute low is like what down here, 0.001. My original entry was just above that, like right here, before we had 125 to 250% pumps, scalp trading in between. And then I think right before that major 2000% gain, I entered right around here, which we're not far off from my original entries. The fact that we are still building a higher price point than where I originally entered back in the previous year in December, November, December, this may be about as good as it gets. We essentially just need to hold this orange trend line, this little guy right here, because that is essentially our very weak support. It's nothing stable in any way. We haven't tested it as support. But we did break out of the channel. You could wait. We may get that pullback since the CM Guppy is coming in. But we want to see this hold support or at least test support on this black trend line right here to try and validate it. If we can hold maybe, if we can hold this little area right here, that is essentially the validity, the validation that we could start seeing this get a little bit more bullish momentum. Don't do that. Don't do that. Well, I can't tell you what to do with your money, but the reason I'm not staking, for you specifically, Daniel, I'm going to show you this. I have a video specific for members where they can go back, check out previous data, but I'm bringing it up again. OMG, oh my God, a while back I bought this coin. And let's get into it. The reason I am currently not staking my XCN. OMG, I saw OMG right about here because it crossed over a 200 EMA. It was around 10 cents. I saw this major push. I believe I missed that one, but then I saw it was consolidating above the 200 EMA and holding support on the CM Guppy. I think I put in about 5K at $1.70, maybe $1.60. And then we had that major push up. Yeah, that's a major push. That was about 500% scalp. Great. $5,000, 5X. Great. That's perfect. Had its retracement, went a little underneath the 200 EMA. And then I was like, okay, it pulled back up over to the 200 EMA. This is a potential another entry. We had another entry all the way up here to 800. And then it had its major pullback. I think I had a sell off on its way down. So it was another decent percent. But then I put it all back in right around 5, and it had a major pump up. Overall, I think I turned $5,000 into $120,000 in the course of 2020, in the course of a year. Keeping in mind I was working a minimum wage job, 120K, staked all my OMG on Boba Networks platform. It was like WagMe or some random platform. It says you can't have your OMG on Coinbase and get the free airdrop for Boba. Boba was the branch to OMG, the fork, right? So there's Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ethereum Lite or something, or some branch of a coin. They want to adjust the rules, the way the thing's structured. So it's like, okay, you get a one-to-one payout if you leave your OMG on the platform that they allow it. Great. Okay, I can stake it there. I can earn like 146% APY. Phenomenal. Great. Okay, makes sense. I'm going to take it off Coinbase, which is secure. Everything's set. I'm going to put it, this is an example for XCN, Say I'm going to put it on XCN's platform network. I got 5,000, turned it into 120,000. All right, I want to sell. I want to get out. I made 120K off of 5K. You can't withdraw. You can unstake your crypto from this network, but you have to transfer it to another network, and that's going to take about 7 days. You can't do anything with your OMG for 7 days. Well, let's see what happens in 7 days from 120K. That is all invested. What is it? 3 days here. Let's see, more or less here. 7 days, 51% decrease in profit, $60,000. Poof. Because the platform would not allow me to move my OMG because it was frozen in some entity in the air and was heading to my other wallet for 7 days. In that 7 days, I lost over $60,000. I got my Boba payout, but somebody hacked that wallet and they stole my Boba. But let's go to Boba and see what happened with Boba. I've done some learning. I've experienced the pain of learning the hard way, hacks, all that good shiz. Boba first came out. What happened with Boba? I got a 1-to-1 payout for every OMG I had. Boba started more or less here at 33 cents. Boom, 65 cents, double money. So with that $120,000, if I could have sold it, that's in the pocket. It's not in the pocket because the staking froze my assets for 7 days. So 120, 50% reduction. Got my Boba, which doubled. So there's, okay, I made back the 50% or should have. But Boba, they allowed me to earn my Boba if I left it on Coinbase. So if I never even moved my money to the staking platform to earn that 148% or whatever it was, APY, and get the Boba, I could have just sold at $120,000 profit, got my Boba, and then sold my Boba, called it a day. But due to staking, I lost over $60,000. So waiting for the price to go to a 0.015 is not in my recommendation, strictly because, yes, Onyx app may allow instant unstake, but you don't know what's happening in the background. Maybe they're like, oh, there's a glitch in the system and we can't get you your XCN at this moment. It starts running to like 26 cents and then crashes, or you say you stake it out 0.015 and then it just doesn't do anything from there. Or you're staking it, but you're staking it for the 32% APY, which is throughout the entire year. I'm terrible at math. What is that? 32 divided by 12. So 2.6%. You're staking all of your XCN at a penny and a half for 2.6% in the month. What does XCN need to do for you to gain that 2.6%? Say you're staking at 1.5, 1.5, right? That's where you wanted to grab all your XCN and stake. Well, you could be staking it. It does its pullback to 30%. You're like, why did I stake? I should have sold, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But say, okay, it continues up. You're staked. The amount this market needs to move to get the amount of an entire month of staking, it needs to move that amount. From your staking up that amount, but then to gain that amount, you have to unstake it, and then you have to sell it. Unstake it, transfer it to your other platform, then sell it. You can get the amount that's being staked in a blip of a second. 2% on XCN. I wouldn't expect it to stop. I'd expect it to pull back that 30%, test resistance or support, sorry, and then take off. But the push up is 40% right there. That's what you would get staking for the entire year. Maybe. So, you kind of have to weigh the options. Do you want to stake it for that 2% in the month, but you're still going to have to unstake it? in order to sell it. And me personally, I don't believe XCN is a long-term hold. Obviously, it's a long-term hold from the people who've been holding this entire year. But when this thing starts moving, you're not going to want to hold this. People are going to be selling off on the way up. People are going to be selling here at 2 cents. They're going to be selling here at 2.5 cents. They're going to be selling at 3, 4, and 5. And more than likely, we're going to get a major sell off at 5 cents, pulling it all the way potentially back to the 618, being 3 cents or even lower down to that 2 cents. So there's your extra 50%, which is more than staking for the entire year, XCN. That's why I'm personally not staking, because I've dealt with the stresses and struggles with trying to move money around. That's all we do in this market is move money. And the rewards for the risk in staking for me personally are not in it. Yes, if you stake back here, you're probably doing good. I don't know if it's 30. I'm pretty sure it's 32% APY. If it's 32% a month, yeah, that's a little better, but still with the risk of whatever platform. If you try and get the Onyx Coin app, and you go to Telegram, there's instantly, like, I had bots calling me when I was like, how do I do the staking? Oh, here, call. 2 phone calls, people messaging me, people adding me as friends in Telegram. I'm like, I don't know, man. That's a little sketch. And yes, it's insane losing 50%. It's insane working a minimum wage job and losing $60,000 on $120,000. But I learned from it. I learned, don't do that again, you idiot. Stupid idiot. You dumb mooch. Like, I've gone through it. I've over a decade. I've been doing this for over a decade, and I've seen the schemes. You guys will see, like, by Kavarden, Kadarvin, Kavaden, Kaden, all these different variations of this coin. The website looks great. It's a complete scam. As soon as you transfer money, it's gone. I've dealt with those honeypots before. I was like, oh, I'll send you 0.01 Ethereum and I'll earn, oh, look at all these digits. I'm getting like millions of this coin. And then when it's time to unstake the coin, it just doesn't. I've dealt with those. I've dealt with other video games, like the one that I keep representing. It's a great game for passive income because you can just earn it. And if you want to withdraw, you just send a little crypto, the amount that you need to withdraw, and then you can withdraw it straight from the game. I've invested in games that earned passive income from the NFTs I've owned. And then at one point, when Ethereum went from proof of stake to proof of work, the NFT was supposed to go from mining Ethereum to mining Bitcoin. That just disappeared. And the guy's like, no, the NFTs are not monetary value. It's like, I got screenshots of the monetary value that I've earned. I have screenshots of you stating that when Ethereum is proof of work, we're going to switch the miners to Bitcoin mining. That didn't happen. The guy's building a mining facility in Canada. 3 years have passed. In my Ethereum that I invested, I probably earned back a tenth of it. But don't worry. Maybe at some point in time in the future, it may start earning passive income again. That's why I invested in it. People are asses, dude. Everybody's trying to get one up. But that's why I created this channel. Hopefully you guys don't get skewed in the process, especially the people who are just now getting into crypto for the first time. And yeah, I'm not saying don't stake. You can totally do that. For me personally, I'm not doing it because last time I did it, I lost $100,000, 60% of $100,000 last time I staked. What do you guys want to see? I got 27 minutes more or less. I don't want to see your asshole, dude. Thank you. Thanks you. En serio? Dude, there's an entire couch. Go to the couch. Lose on staking. Me, over 60,000, yes. When I post this live, go back 10 minutes. I don't want to go over the whole situation again, but essentially transfer to one platform because they want to allow it on another platform. Turns out they did allow it on that platform. The first platform just wanted me to transfer my money. I stake it. I try to unstake it. It unstakes fine, but to try and sell it, I have to transfer it back to another platform, similar to Onyx Coin. And in that process, they locked it for 7 days and the price decreased 50% in short. That's for you, Z to the EU. Well, at that point, you wouldn't be losing any money if you're above your entries. That's what we're all waiting for, is that exit scenario. You entered in November 2024. And always appreciate you watching the channel. Yeah, you should have got out. Obviously, you know that now. The hardest part is whenever you look at this chart, none of this stuff over here to the right is printed. And so all you see is a major green candle. You're looking at like this little blip and you're like, wow, that could go up more. What was it? November? February? Oh, 2024. Oh, so you entered at a great point. If your entries are, you're probably in profit with your entries still. Right now, you're just waiting to break that red trend line. But the hardest part is like this, for example, we had this major pump up. I was saying, okay, I'm going to pull my house saving funds after Jerome Powell says good afternoon. He said good afternoon on the 20th. I said, okay, I'm going to stick to my word. I'm going to pull some funds, not all of it, and I'll let the rest ride. Pulled the funds and the profit here because you could still have that major pullback and this could be dead. It didn't. It held support above the 50 in the CM Guppy, these blue lines, and had that major push up again. I sold off somewhere in here. Everybody else was looking at this at the 5 cent. But the hardest part is when it has this major pullback. Maybe you're not selling on this major pullback. And in the 4 hour, it's going to look a lot different than just this wick off. You're going to see a bloody red candle and you're going to think it's going to continue and close and just keep dropping. You sell off here, it does a major pullback. You're like, oh, okay, it's going to have a continuation. I'm going to buy. And then it has another major bleed out. It psychs you out. You want to sell off again because you think, okay, it's going to continue down to the wick off. Nope, pulls back up. And you're like, oh, well, now I should buy here because it did a bullish engulfing and now it's going to do a reversal. Psych. And it pulls back the other way. That's the hardest part, is to sell your profit. And then what you should be doing, I'm not a financial advisor, what you should be doing, pay yourself 50%. If not, pay yourself 25% of the 50%. So at least you bagged your 2,000% profit, 25% of 50% of it. Great. It's not the biggest gain from the overall picture, but you have that other 25% where pulls back. Okay, now you get an entry and then you scalp trade. Okay, you sell off again, take 50%, 25% of that for the bank. The other 25% you can play around with, but on your way down, you're not losing by saying, okay, I sold and now I have, say $1,000, for example. I made $1,000 profit and then it does its major pullback and then you enter again and it pulls up and you don't sell off and then it pulls back and then you're like, oh, fuck, okay, now I'm going to sell. And it psychs you out, but it has the continuation downward, but you're only playing with 500 of that 1,000. So the increase of profit may not be as much, but at least you bag that $500 and you're not touching it. And not only that, I'd recommend, it's not financial advice, getting an online savings account if you don't have one, because the bank will pay you 0.005% in the year for holding your money on it. But an online bank like Synchrony, Sophie, Wise, Synchrony, I think, gives one of the best for people in America at around 4.5 to 5% APY. May not seem like much, but say you have $100,000 in online savings, 5% of $100,000 is $5K a year. That's not bad, really. What would the bank give you? Comparing $5,000 from setting your money aside to if you just leaving it in a normal bank, times it by 0.005, $500. Online bank 5,000, bank 500. So that's essentially what the Clarity Act is doing. If you guys don't know what the Clarity Act is, do your research, because the reason this has panned out and been suppressed for so long, at least specifically in this last month, is specific to the fact that it is the Clarity Act. The banks don't want to give you 20%, 35% APY like XCN is currently giving. The banks want 25, 35% APY, and they want to give you maybe online banking percentage, maybe 5%, 3% is pushing it, you know? Online banks do 3%. That's too much for the people. Crypto, 149%. Why not? Because it's a coin nobody knows about. We don't know if it's going to be delisted. We don't know if it's not going to follow regulations. However, the positive news for XCN and XRP, if you, Pam, and XRP is strictly honed in on the Clarity Act. They beat the SEC in a lawsuit, multiple lawsuits. The amount of people who have beat the SEC in lawsuits is less than 0.003%, maybe one less zero. A fraction of a percent of people have beat the SEC in the lawsuit, but XRP has. If you're not investing in anything, I mean, that should be more than enough information to be wanting to buy some XRP. Let's dig through the chat. You guys can just like pump out a bunch of like smiley faces and stuff on the chat. I don't know if that pumps it out to more people, but I got maybe 19 minutes left to try and cover something for you guys. And feel free to send money to the PayPal for donations. That 50% is going to a bigger pot. So you guys, if you're donating $2 to that PayPal, once we accumulate $20 or $50, 25 is going to the pot. So you can have a potential to earn $50 from a $2 donation. And the other 50% is going to save animals' lives. I know a lot of people think it's just me taking the money, but no. There's people down here that won't pay for surgeries, or I don't know. It's a shit show. It's a mess out there, and I hear it's a mess there too, wherever you're at. And yes, fear of staking. You still round trip? Yeah. Yeah, tell me about it. It's been hell. And that's the benefits of diversification. I know I'm not the best at diversifying. Everybody sees that lottery ticket like preparing to take off, and everybody wants it. And so they end up putting a bigger bag into one coin than they should, such as myself. But I am heavy into XRP and XCN. XRP, I don't care if it's up or down. If I ever get $1, I'm going to put more into XRP. XCN, my bag is big enough. The way I see it is it's going to be a couple $100K if it goes to the price target that I'm thinking. Yeah, waiting a year is watching the market bleed. And yeah, it's painful, but I don't know. I don't know the word for it, but I don't know if I enjoy pain or if I'm an idiot or I see the way the trends are placed out and I see its potential. And if you're not entering into XCN at these price points, you're missing out on a great opportunity, but it's not financial advice. Essentially, with those orange squiggles that you see there, that's what we need to see happen. Whether we get resistance at that top of that bottom purple triangle. Oh no, give me one sec. The battery's about to die. Ugh. All right. What you guys want to see? Is everybody just here for XCN? I assume some of you are driving cars, just listening to the chat. From what I've heard, you guys got to give me something to talk about. Right now, one I've brought up many times. This coin washes money. So if you know what that's about, that's always fun. If you've seen Ozark, it's somewhat similar, just a lot less sketchy. But original entry here, why? Well, we broke a downward trend line. We held over a 200 EMA. That's good enough for me personally. And we had our entry. We had our long push up. This period right here was some information that happened, but Vladimir Putin, or the guy who created Ethereum, started supporting it at this point in time. Tested the 200 EMA. I was like, okay, that's support. Broke over the $11 mark, where we see it touched multiple times as resistance, but was still heading upwards. Came through it, came back up over it, tested it as support. And then for the people who haven't entered Tornado Cash, it's a very good scalp coin. Some people don't want to scalp, but even if you're not scalping, it gives you time for your entries and exits. From that $11 mark to its first major pump, 71%, and it retraced back down to the $11 mark, gave you another opportunity for 100%. There's 170%. Retraced back down to almost 11. So 170%. And then you had the opportunity, to enter in once more. And then you scalp another 70%. So well over 200 something percent. You guys have had the opportunity. If you've been following along, I've been promoting it a lot. If you don't know where to trade it, there is a reference link on almost all of my YouTube videos for MEXC. If you're gonna use MEXC, first off, there's multiple things you should know. Use a VPN if you're in America. I don't know if I'm gonna get a policy violation on YouTube for telling you guys this. Use a VPN. I use Proton VPN, it's free. Connect to that VPN. It may put you in the Netherlands. Once you're connected to the VPN, use the reference link in my video for MEXC. Using that reference link, it'll take you to MEXC. It's a little laggy on my computer. The platform is reliable. It's just a little laggy because there's so much graphics. So once you use that reference link, you sign in, put your email, all that good stuff into MEXC, and you're still on your VPN. And then you transfer, if you want a bonus, you transfer 100 USDT to MEXC and do one future trade. I usually do one future trade of 10x. Says for $100, it's like you're playing with 1,000. I'd get in and out. Whether it costs you $1, you gain $1, lose $1, whatever. Do the trade. And then that alone, just doing that process, right now, I believe it gives you $50 and it gives me $50. And if you guys do that process, I'll give you 50% if I get the $50 sent to my account. But Tornado Cash, its all-time high is 459. This is very similar to XCN. It's not just a dead coin. We tested resistance, broke above it, and when we held above the 200 EMA from its last pump back before. So keep in mind, this is before XCN took off, I believe. So before XCN's taking off, you could have money in here, and there is your 12x, $1,000 times 12, sell off, and we clearly have roughly that 32 and even a little higher, around 38 resistance. But the bigger picture, the fact that we had that major pump and the fact that we still have support after crossing a downward trend line is pretty good news, because looking at the bigger picture, the 618 is 278. Para. 278 is the midpoint. So even if you don't hit that 459, which most cryptocurrencies in the altcoin season have a tendency to hit their all-time high, in this case 459, and then double that. This coin washes money. So if that's not informative enough, and somebody washed like $138 million that they stole from Binance, and they used Tornado Cash to wash the money and send it to an anonymous wallet, I mean, I think that is cool as cake. But we pushed down to that original entry point. Pam, ¿quieres morir? You want to die? Pam. Para. Maybe, en serio? We are back at that entry point level. So if you missed your opportunity, when I last talked about Tornado Cash to enter in at this point, not saying enter, but because that's financial advice, I would say more or less we could get some support off of that area. I can't even grab that hammer because this is a damn computer. Oh, it's locked. That's why. And when in doubt, zoom out. Weekly, how does that look on the weekly? Absolutely beautiful. Pushed up, switch the CM Guppy from red to gray, gray to green. It is pulling back, but think of it as a slingshot. You can't get that breaking of the downward trend line and the re-breaking of the $11 resistance without pullback. Now let's check your guys' comments. Let's see if there's anything new. I don't know what Metalicious is. I would say XCN is my second biggest bag. It will be the biggest bag whenever it starts to pump, obviously, because it's going to have a lot more percent increase on the way up. But XRP is my biggest bag. Then start moving down, piecing in XYO, BNT, DNT. What's going on, Woozle? You are a little late. I got 8 minutes, but you can always watch the live once I finish this. It's already been an hour. Here, I'll tell you my bag. You guys could go over it yourself. Let's see. And I don't know if you're late. You're in Australia. It's a pretty good time for you. A lot of these people are, I don't know if it's like, what, 6 in the morning or 8 in the morning, Texas. I got family in Kansas and Washington, so I just assume any time past 1 o'clock, it's like 6 in the morning or something. All right. XRP is my biggest bag. XCN, second biggest. QNT, shouldn't have put that much in QNT, but QNT, XYO BNT Compound. I brought that up in the previous video. It's going to be for members only here in the near future. DNT Tornado Cash. ZRX, it starts thinning out quite a bit because I have bigger bags and some specifics, and then a little bit out there. GRT, ZRX, Crow. That was a terrible buy. Never do what somebody else tells you to do. My buddy who's knows nothing about crypto was like, "Oh, buy Crow." I was like, "Huh, it looked good at the moment." There was a UFC fight, it pumped like 10%, and then it's been garbage ever since. FET, Artificial Superintelligence Alliance. That's one I have an eye on that I'd like to put more in, but I haven't. Algorand, IOTX, ICP. ICP was bad. A little in Cookie Spell for, a little bit of meme coins in there. Perpetual Protocol, Hedera, and then it just starts thinning out to like nothing. Hive Mapper, Bonk, CTSI, Suku, EOS, Engine Coin, Math. Tezos was actually something I was looking at. Tezos and Link, very similar movements. Demo, I kind of ignore. Ocean was something I was looking at. LCX. Solana was looking pretty decent. And you hear in my videos I say I need to stack more XLM. XLM is down like number 21 on my list. Definitely need to stack more XLM. But XRP is more likely to run first, or XCN. So that's why those are the bigger bags. CC, Canton Network. Second bag, Swift. Swift, I went over a little bit. And I don't know what Metalicious is. Sorry, man. I can look it up. I don't know what the ticker is. Some Japanese one. Yeah, the Japs or Chinese are holding all their gold and silver, which is, I don't know. I haven't looked at gold for a minute because it had that major pump. Man, that might even have a continuation. That's what they are expecting. They're expecting gold to hit here, 10K. Volume's picking up. It's above the 200 EMA. The RSI is completely overbought, which is why I would expect this to either consolidate or have at least a drop off. But volume's picking up. Gold is just getting way overpriced, in my opinion. Congratulations to you if you bought gold like halfway through last year, double money. But I'd rather just hold the commodity. I'd want something I'd want to feel personally. It's a lot cooler having gold bars than digits in the bank account. All right, I got maybe 7 more minutes. Let's see. Try and bust out some of yours, Woozall. Canton Network. We're in the weekly. Let's go to the daily. That was my expectation. We broke that trend line, which isn't really a trend line at all. That's why it's so thin. It was just our small little blip of support. Consolidation downwards. This is nothing to worry about. This is actually more bullish than anything, but it's not stating just like put a massive bag into it. What you'd be doing, since there's no real data to go off of, is stating that more or less this is our support and resistance. But the trend line is in my strategy the more important. So I have this orange line. Okay, we may push down. Ideally, this area is where we want to see the support before it starts pulling back up. This wick off right here on this daily candle shows that there is a little resistance. You got time to enter into Canton Network. We have the yellow coming down on top of the purple on the RSI, which also shows resistance, meaning we could get a little bit more of a pullback underneath this previous support line. But if we consolidate on that, you could always do something like a Gonfan. It's pretty cool stuff what the Gonfan can do. It's like Fibonacci, but in an angled form. I'm not the best with it. You're always just kind of eyeballing it, so don't take it like, oh, Gonfan says specifically that. Because you could say that is the Gonfan. You could move it down like it lines up with my black line there, but then it's not really lining up with the top pieces as well. You could draw it here, say, oh, okay, that makes more sense. It's all really perspective on where you want to draw this line. I'm going to go ahead and say it's there at the 2-to-1. And so the range we have is more or less this blue area. If we hold support there, we have the opportunity to hit the 23 cents and break it, which pushes us into the next range, which pushes it all the way up to around 38 to almost 40 cents. But like I was talking about, if you saw my Canton Network video, I don't know if that's for members only still or not, but I was comparing Canton to math. I'll bring it up again. But previous history, going back in math with absolutely no data, which is definitely a gamble. It's a very risky bet. But let's see here, for example, say this. Imagine this is like what Canton was showing. We have that major push up, reduction, and then we push up, but we did not hold above the previous high, had that reduction, but the CM Guppy is very strong. So say same thing. Say we do like, for example, Gonfan. All right, well, there's our range, more or less. Oh, look at that. We held support on that blue line, pushed immediately all the way to the top of that line, right in this blue area, around the 0.2324, and then major push up all the way through that blue range, halfway into the green around the 3.8 cent. That's almost identical to what you're looking at with Canton Network. Keeping in mind, once it had that major push, what was that push? Say you're entering like here off of Canton. That's 100% gain, not bad. There are better opportunities out there. But then the reduction is 34, 35% more or less before immediately reversing. And that was within a few days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like a week of bleed out. And you're like, okay, it's going to continue to bleed out. Psych. And it goes all the way up into this range right around here. Oh, shit. One moment. Hello? Hello? What's up? Yeah. I'm on my way. No, my phone died on the way home. I didn't check the message, but it's 16, no? 1600, right? 4 o'clock? Okay. I am fucking exhausted. I walked more than we walked in Italy in 3 hours. Oh, I'm tired. But I'll hang out and I'll head out. Right. Right. Yeah. All right. That was my call. I gotta go. Hopefully that was informative. There's not going to be a video today, so go over this. Giga Chad. All right, real quick. What is that? Giga Chad. Meme coin for sure. And we are in the daily. What the fuck is going on? I want to touch it with a stick. There's no bottom. There's nothing to state that this is the bottom. It could just continue to bleed out. Not saying it's not a bad entry. Don't say Neil said, don't enter this. The CM Guppy is very thinned out. The 200 EMA is coming down like a rock. So this is your wall that we'd have to get over around the 0.008. Yes, that is a major couple 100%. 200% to that 200 EMA. I personally would not be entering until we get above that 200 EMA. Even though you miss out on that 200% and the percentage on the potential increase, I wouldn't touch it due to my strategy, just because there's no information. It would be gambling, and we are not here to gamble. We are here to make some money. Here is the link if you guys want to donate for PayPal, and here is the link. The PayPal isn't for me. 50% goes to the pot, 50% goes to save animals' lives. We need $50 more, so then the person who donated 50 can get a 1-to-1 ratio on their returns potential. And if you guys want to earn passive income, this game is legit. Use that reference link, get 1,000 Satoshi for free. And the game is great because you don't have to transfer coins to be able to cash out. You start instantly earning money. It'll be like, Neil, I only earn like 0.501 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. The more you play, the more you earn. People are earning like 0.15 XRP a day. You do the math on that. But XRP being at $1.30 and potentially being $100 in the near future, I don't see it as pennies on the dollar. I see it as dollars on the dollar. Yes, Torn is overbought. I went over it a little bit ago. I think you might have been in here, Woozall, but I really got to go. I got to drive half an hour across town. So good luck. Have fun with it. And I will see you guys on the next one. And yep, later.